Good evening, Ananda. Good evening, Ananda. We welcome you all to the international webinar series on holistic health, well-being, and sustainable development 2024, commemorating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, nation celebrating 77 years of independence and United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2015 to 2030 and Viksit Bharat at 2047, a vision of developed India by 100 years. In collaboration with Sri Holistic Health Foundation India and Sri Research Institute Center for Art, Sciences and Wellbeing. Before we start our sessions, let's take the blessings of Almighty.
कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
With the blessings of Almighty, we shall continue with today's commemorations. Today is commemorated as International Day of Epidemic Preparedness, 27 December. Every year, COVID-19 is a human tragedy, but it has also created a generational opportunity, an opportunity to build back a more equal and sustainable world. The response to the pandemic and the widespread discontent that preceded it must be based on a new social contract and a new global deal that created equal opportunities for all and respect the rights and freedoms of all. As exemplified by the ongoing coronavirus disease, COVID-19 pandemic, major infectious diseases, and epidemics have been devastating impacts on human lives, wreaking havoc on long-term social economic development. Global health crisis threaten to overwhelm already overstretched health systems, disrupt global supply chains, and cause disproportionate devastation of the livelihoods of the people, including women and children, and the economies of the poorest and most vulnerable countries. There is an urgent need to have resilient and robust health systems, reaching those who are vulnerable or in vulnerable situations. In the event of the absence of international attention, future epidemics could surpass previous outbreaks in terms of intensity and gravity. There is a great need of raising awareness, the exchange of information, scientific knowledge, and best practices, quality education and advocacy programs on epidemics at the local, national, regional, and global levels as effective measures to prevent and respond to epidemics. It is important to strengthen epidemic prevention by applying lessons learned on epidemic management and how to prevent the stoppage of basic services and to raise the level of preparedness in order to have earliest and most adequate response to any epidemic that may arise, and recognizing also the value of integrated One Health approach that fosters integration of human health, animal health, and plant health, as well as environmental and other relevant sectors. So, international cooperation and multilateralism play an important role in the response to epidemics. We need to stress the significance of partnership and solidarity among every individual, community, and state, and regional and international organizations in all stages of epidemic management and as well as the importance of considering a gender perspective in this regard. The United Nations system in particular, the World Health Organization plays a pivotal role in coordinating responses to epidemics in accordance with its mandate and is supporting national, regional, international efforts to prevent, mitigate, and address the impacts of infectious diseases and epidemics in accordance with the goal of advancing the 2030 Agenda. We need to recognize the primary role and responsibility of governments and the indispensable contribution of relevant stakeholders in tackling global health challenges, especially women who make up the majority of the world health workers. UN member states commit to ensure inclusive, equal, and non discriminatory participation with special attention to those who are vulnerable or in vulnerable situations with the highest chance of epidemic infection. So the UN General Assembly invites all member states, organizations of the United Nations, system, and other regional, global, and regional organizations, the private sector, and the civil society, including non-governmental organizations, academic institutions, individuals, and other relevant stakeholders to observe the International Day of Epidemic Preparedness annually in an appropriate manner and in accordance with the natural context and priorities, including nation, through education and awareness raising activities in order to highlight the importance of the prevention of preparedness for and partnership against epidemics. The COVID-19 pandemic is more than a health crisis, it is an economic crisis, a humanitarian crisis, a security crisis, and a human rights crisis. This crisis has highlighted several fragilities and inequalities within among the nations. Coming out of the crisis will require a whole of society, whole of government, and whole of the world approach driven compassion and solidarity. The UN Secretary General has launched the UN Comprehensive Response to COVID-19 to save lives, protect societies, recover better. The World Health Organization has an essential role to play in supporting member states to prepare for and respond to and recover from emergencies with public health consequences. Today is also commemorated as Visit the Zoo Day. In US, which is celebrated on December 27th each year. Although the origins of the day are unclear, the word zoo is in fact the shortest way to refer a zoological park or garden. Zoos are typically home to a range of species and functions as protective shelters for the animals housed within them. An early form of zoo or zoological garden was called a menagerie. It is said to have much similar than more than modern zoo. The first iterations of zoos were private collections and acted as a show of power. Excavators discovered remnants of menagerie in Egypt, which they believe dates back to around 3500 BC. Famous kings such as Alexander the Great of Greece, King Solomon of Israel, and King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylonia were known as animal collectors from their respective times. Evidence of such zoos or collections of animals have been found in places like China and Rome. The first modern zoo was built in 1973 in Paris, France. The idea of the modern and public zoo appears to have become popular in the 18th century. During the age of enlightenment, when science became more of a central pillar to society, individuals wished to study animals to better understand their anatomy and behavior, among other things. The city of London also saw its first modern zoo being opened in 1828. Animals from the Tower of London, menagerie, were added to its collection in due course, with the zoo eventually opening to the public in 1847. The focus of early modern zoos was not on functioning as natural habitats for the species housed in them. Instead, They were more like museums of living animals kept in small display areas. Zoos today work towards educating and entertaining members of the public while also furthering scientific research and promoting the conservation of species. The earliest form of the zoo is the menagerie, which can be traced back to ancient Egypt through excavations around 3,500 years ago in the West. The world's first modern zoo in the West is built in the city of Paris in 1730. The world's oldest scientific zoo, the London Zoo, opens its doors to the scientific research in 1828 in the West, with the Philadelphia Zoo unable to open until 1874 because of the Civil War. Central Park Zoo becomes the first official zoo to open in the United States in 1860. So National Zoo Lovers Day is celebrated on April 8th every year. Visit your local zoo is the best way to celebrate this day. There is a history of mistreatment of animals by zoos. Reintroduction into the wild and ethical research are often not the primary concern of some zoos. Zoos are perfectly safe to visit, with establishments having to adhere to various sets of rules to ensure visitor safety. So get on the internet and search for your local zoo. Be sure to find the name of the organization that runs it and learn more about the safety measures they have in place for you, for your and animals' benefit. Make the most of the days and visit the nearest zoo with your family. Spend a day appreciating the beautiful creatures that call the zoo home. Zoos are in constant need of support, financial and otherwise. Encourage your friends and family to visit the zoo and help support the animals near you. Early collections of animals used menageries as shows of power and even traveled far and wide to bring exotic animals. Emperor Montezuma to maintain one of the earliest collections of animals in the whole of Western Hemisphere. India's Sri Venkateshwara Zoological Park is the world's largest zoo in the world in Tirupati. Lions, rhinoceros, leopards, elephants, and the artificial African buffalo are considered to be Africa's big five and can be found together at a zoo at Gondwana Game Reserve in South Africa. A Milne named Winnie after his son's teddy bear, which was itself named after a Canadian black bear that Milne's son often saw at London Zoo. This day reminds us of how vulnerable animals are to the harmful effects of human development. It is important to be mindful and inclusive of animal life at all times. With time, humans have seen the divide between themselves and the wildlife growing. This is an important day to reconnect with the nature. We all read about animals and their habitats in class, but seeing and observing them in real lives is perhaps the right way to cap off these lessons. Today is also commemorated as National Make Cutout of Snowflakes Day in US. Take out your foil paper, construction paper, glitters, scissors, and design templates if you have any, and then just cut out basic shapes or intricate patterns into beautiful snowflake. It's a great way to creativity, spend time with the family after the hustle and bustle of Christmas, and keep the children out of mischief. You can't have a white Christmas without snow. Snowflakes are most associated with the holiday season. So naturally, it's a popular tradition to create paper snowflakes for decor purpose or to just have fun. The date of this day mildly surprises us, as making paper snowflakes is a regular craft activity in schools. On December 27th, schools are closed and children are at home. But then again, it keeps the thoughts up. Making snowflakes is a modern tradition, but the method for creating it is based on the old art of origami. The concept of origami is about folding a piece of paper several times to create objects, and it started in Japan around 17th century. Another variation is called kirigami, which involves cutting out shapes into the folded paper. Cutout snowflakes, including both methods requiring folding of paper and then adding cuts in the desired places for a more detailed effect. Just like no two snowflakes are identical, you can cut as many different patterns as you like on the folded paper. So whether it is detailed or basic, Make Cutout Snowflake Day is a timeless tradition that a lot of us have grown up with it. A fantastic way to channel your creativity and remember what is felt like to work with scissors and art supplies as a kid. Once you and your family have completed your snowflake projects, you can write your name on them or color them in for a unique and personal touch. And all you need to do is hang them from the ceiling or on a window or wherever else you like a big family of snowflakes. Today is also commemorated as National Fruitcake Day in US. Is a day to celebrate every eccentric person you know. A fruitcake is a boozy, chewy, rich amalgam of dry fruits, nuts, and sugar saturated with favorite alcohol that is optional and most commonly with other juices that produces a dense, sweet, and textured treat generally served around holidays. Fruitcakes have been found in ancient Egyptian tombs, so you know that the tradition is steeped into history as well as a booze. You can keep the tradition alive by creating your own fruitcakes with your own ingredients and recipe. If you don't have a family recipe, adopt a recipe from a popular cookbook. All the ingredients can be purchased, but why not make it a family tradition to try your own food? Not only your fruit cake tastes better, but it will be healthier and better for you. Toast some fresh nuts, use honey instead of sugar, and use top shelf booze to make a real fruit cake. Lovers fruit cake. So with this, we shall conclude today's commemorations. Thank you everyone for joining us for the today's commemorations. So we request you all to fill the feedback form, which has been raised in the form of polls. See you all tomorrow at the same time. Take care. Good night.